The Alabama sun was already beating down when Officer Caleb Whitmore blocked Victoria Washington's path to the Montgomery Police Department. "Hey, go. Halloween was last month." His tobacco-stained grin spread wide as he looked her up and down, like she was wearing a costume. But Victoria wasn't in costume. She stood tall, her uniform pressed to perfection, badge shining in the morning light. Sweat dotted her forehead, but her face stayed composed. Whitmore smirked, tapping the Confederate flag pin on his chest. Then he brushed past her shoulder hard enough to make her step back. "Real cops don't look like you, sweetheart. Maybe try the McDonald's down the street. They are hiring." A few commuters stopped to watch. Phones came out. Some laughed. Others just stood in silence, recording what they knew was trouble. Victoria's hand stayed locked behind her back, military straight. Her training kept her calm, even though the sting of humiliation burned hot. Behind them, the courthouse steps loomed, the same steps where Rosa Parks had once been sentenced. Montgomery, Alabama still carried the weight of history, and this morning was another chapter. Confederate monuments dotted the city like reminders of an unfinished conversation. The police department itself, built in the 1950s, stood like a fortress. Its cornerstone read to protect and serve, but right beside it, a weathered plaque honoring Confederate veterans. Inside, the walls were lined with portraits of past chiefs, decades of stern white faces. Not a single black face among them. The break room bulletin board showed heritage stickers, Confederate trinkets, and party photos with rebel flags in the background. This was Whitmore's territory, and he wore it proudly. His family had worn the badge for generations. His great-great-grandfather helped found the department in 1888. His grandfather kept order during the civil rights marches. His father retired a lieutenant, never once held accountable for the stories that followed him. That Confederate pin on Whitmore's chest? It wasn't decoration, it was identity. His record said the rest. In a county that's 60% black, his arrest numbers ran over 90% African American. Force reports piled up, but the paperwork was always neat, the wording always just right to dodge questions. And now, here was Victoria Washington, the kind of officer his world couldn't handle. She came from a line of fighters. Her grandfather had faced dogs and hoses for the right to vote. Her father broke barriers in Birmingham, becoming the first black detective there in the 70s. Victoria herself? Harvard Law. Federal recognition. A specialist in hate crime investigations. When the DOJ came down on Montgomery for corruption and abuse, she volunteered for the toughest assignment in America, reforming this very department. And now here she stood, 4 blocks from where Rosa Parks once refused to give up her seat, staring down men who thought history hadn't changed at all. Whitmore planted himself in her path, thumbs hooked in his belt, rocking back on his heels. His badge caught the sun as he sneered. "You lost, sweetheart?" Costume shops down on Dexter Avenue. Victoria stayed firm, her voice even. "I'm here for work, officer. Official business." Whitmore's laugh was sharp and ugly. He waved over another officer. "Billy Ray, get a look at this. She thinks she's a police." Officer Billy Ray Cooper lumbered over, his shirt stained with coffee, radio squawking. At just 32, his reputation was already tainted. Aggressive stops, creative reports. He grinned wide. "What we got here, Caleb?" Whitmore circled Victoria slowly, like a shark. Real fancy uniform. 2. Wonder where she stole it from. Her jaw tightened, but she didn't move. Every black officer knew this game. The humiliation. The public theater of disrespect. The trap. "I need to speak with Chief Morrison," she said clearly. "It's official business." "Chief Morrison don't talk to people like you unless you're in cuffs," Whitmore shot back. More officers began to drift over. Tommy Jenkins, a 15-year vet with dead eyes and scarred knuckles. Mike Stevens, known for false complaints that read like a horror novel. A half-circle formed around her. Whitmore raised his voice so everyone could hear. "She claims to be police. Any of you'll ever seen her before?" Heads shook. Murmurs spread. Someone snapped a photo. Laughter rippled through the group. And still, Victoria stood tall. Silent. Unflinching. Because what Whitmore didn't know was that the woman he mocked carried 3 generations of struggle on her shoulders and the power of the federal government in her pocket. The heat in Montgomery was already rising when Victoria Washington recognized what was happening. This wasn't about her credentials. It wasn't about her paperwork. It was about power, territory, the oldest game in American policing, putting others in their place. Her grandfather faced the circle in 1965. Her father endured it in 1975. Now, in 2025, it was her turn. She looked straight at the man blocking her path. "Officer Whitmore," she said, reading his name tag calmly, "I'm asking you to verify my credentials through dispatch. That's standard procedure." Whitmore's voice shot up into a mocking falsetto. "Standard procedure. Listen to her. Boys. Sounds like she's been watching too much TV." Laughter rippled through the group. One of them muttered something about uppity behavior. The chuckles grew louder. Victoria kept her expression still. Inside, she catalogued every badge number, every name. This would all go in her report. On the sidewalk, the crowd was growing. An elderly black woman clutched her purse tight and hurried past. Two white businessmen paused to watch, one already holding his phone out, recording. The morning commute had turned into street theater. Whitmore leaned closer, invading her personal space. "You know what I think? I think you ordered this costume online. Amazon. Maybe eBay. Figured you'd play dress up. See what happens." "The uniform is regulation," Victoria replied evenly. "Issued by the state." "Issued by the state." Officer Cooper mimicked her diction, grinning wide. "Damn, she's good. Real professional sounding." "Professional," Jenkins echoed. "Must have watched a lot of cop shows." The circle closed tighter. 6 officers now, all white, all following Whitmore's lead. Behind them, the Confederate monument's shadow stretched long across the pavement. Whitmore presses radio with a showman's flair. "Dispatch, this is Unit 247. I need a supervisor in the main parking lot. We got a situation with someone impersonating an officer." The radio crackled back. "Copy that. Supervisor en route." Whitmore's grin widened. "There we go. Now we'll get this sorted out proper-like." Victoria weighed her options. She could end this immediately by revealing her federal appointment, but that would ruin the mayor's strategy of quiet oversight. And more importantly, she needed to see how far this rut spread. Whitmore wasn't done. "While we wait, maybe you can explain where you got that badge. Looks mighty real from here." He reached toward her chest. Victoria stepped back sharply. "Don't touch me, officer." "Don't touch you." Whitmore's fake astonishment rang out. I'm just trying to verify your credentials. That's my job." "Your job?" Victoria shot back, "is to serve and protect, not harass citizens in parking lots." "Citizens." Officer Stevens spit into the gravel. "That's rich." Phones came up high now. Someone had gone live on Facebook. Hashtags were already forming in real time. #Montgomery PD. #police brutality. Then headlights cut through the tension. A white sedan rolled into the lot, emergency lights flashing. Captain Frank Morrison. The 30-year veteran stepped out slowly, his belly arriving before the rest of him. He was old guard, the type who fought integration hard, then adapted just enough to keep his badge when federal oversight came down. "What's the problem here?" Morrison asked. Whitmore didn't hesitate. "Got ourselves an impersonator. Captain. Claims she's police." Morrison looked Victoria up and down with open disdain. "You got ID, girl." Victoria produced her credentials. Federal ID, state certification, transfer orders. Morrison turned them over, squinting, pretending to study. "These look fake to me," he announced. "Real professional job, but fake all the same." The officers around him nodded, smirking. Jokes flew about Hollywood props, crisis actors, anything to feed the crowd. Victoria understood exactly what she was seeing now. This wasn't just bias. This was coordinated resistance. The institution itself standing against her. "Sir, those documents are authentic," she said firmly. "You can verify them through federal channels." "Federal channels." Morrison sneered. "Don't tell me how to do my job, girl. Been wearing this badge since before you were born." The civilian crowd buzzed with tension. An older black man pulled out his phone, dialing his pastor. A young white woman whispered into her live stream. A local news van turned the corner, pulled by social media alerts. Victoria knew she was at a crossroads. Continue gathering evidence. I'll stop this before it turned violent. Morrison's face flushed red. Ordering me? You're ordering me. The circle of officers grew tighter. Hands drifted toward weapons. Feet planted. The civilians backed away, sensing trouble. Whitmore presses radio again. Dispatch, we're gonna need that wagon. Got us an arrestable situation developing. Sirens wailed in the distance. The transport unit arrived with dramatic flair. Officer Derek Walsh stepped out, handcuffs swinging. Whitmore's voice rang out for the whole lot to hear. All right, let's make this easy. You're either gonna take off that stolen uniform right here, right now, or you're going to jail for impersonating an officer. Victoria's tone stayed steady, unshaken. Officer Whitmore, I am a sworn law enforcement officer. These are my legitimate credentials. Legitimate? Morrison spat. Nothing legitimate about people like you wearing our uniform. 8 officers now formed the ring. White, male, aggressive. Their body language screamed confrontation. Hands near weapons, shoulders squared, jaws tight. Whitmore raised his chin. Here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna face that wall, hands behind your back, while I search you for weapons, or whatever else you got hidden under that costume. I refuse, Victoria said clearly. You have no probable cause. Probable cause. Cooper barked out a laugh. Lady, you're wearing a police uniform illegally. That's all the probable cause we need in Alabama. The crowd had swelled to nearly 30 people. Phones everywhere. Every angle recorded. Every word preserved. And history itself seemed to pause, watching, waiting to see if the past was about to repeat itself, or if, this time, something different would break through. The Channel 8 news van screeched to a stop at the edge of the lot. The camera crew jumped out, hustling to set up tripods and boom mics. On social media, live streams multiplied by the second. Comments poured in. Engagement was exploding. Whitmore's tone dropped from mocking to menacing. Turn around. Hands on that patrol car now. Victoria didn't move. She knew this playbook too well. Once she complied, they'd write it into the script. Subject became combative during routine investigation. She could see the report forming before it was even typed. I said turn around. Whitmore's shout echoed off the brick buildings. From the sidewalk, an elderly black woman called out, voice steady despite her age. Leave that girl alone. She ain't done nothing. Step back or you'll be arrested for interfering, Jenkins barked, baton already in his hand. But Ruby Jefferson, 73 years old, didn't flinch. She had lived through this before. I got a right to stand on this sidewalk. This is America. Not your America, Stevens muttered, but his words carried on the thick Alabama air. Victoria clocked it all. This wasn't just a fight anymore. She could feel the shift, one voice, then another, courage sparking courage. This is how movements begin. Her grandfather would recognize the moment. Whitmore snapped his cuffs open with a metallic click. Last warning. Turn around and assume position, or I'll put you down myself. Put her down. The officers echoed it back like a chorus, casual violence made normal. Victoria's training sharpened her focus. She logged every threat, every phase, every word. This would matter later, in courtrooms, in oversight hearings. But first, she had to survive. Officer Whitmore, she said clearly, her voice carrying across the lot. I'm placing you on notice. Your actions are being recorded by multiple witnesses. You're violating my civil rights under federal law. Civil rights. Morrison barked a bitter laugh. Hear that, boys? She knows about civil rights. The irony was heavy. They were standing only blocks from where Rosa Parks was dragged off a bus. Only steps from the courthouse that sentenced marchers and students. Whitmore leaned in close, his breath foul with tobacco and stale coffee. His voice dropped low. Just for her. You know what your problem is. You forgot your place. Don't worry. I'll remind you. The threat was personal. Generational. Victoria didn't back down. Step back, officer. You're close enough to be considered assault. Assault? Whitmore shouted, flipping her words to the crowd. She's threatening me now. You all heard that. She threatened a police officer. The lie spread instantly. Heads nodded. Hands moved toward holsters. The narrative was shifting fast, from harassment to officer safety. Walsh appeared with zip-tie restraints dangling from his fist. You're under arrest for impersonating an officer, threatening an officer, and disorderly conduct. I haven't committed any crimes, Victoria said loudly, looking straight into the nearest camera phone. This is an unlawful arrest based on racial bias. Racial bias. Stevens mocked. There she goes, playing the race card. The crowd rippled with unease. Some shouted support. Some recorded silently. A few faces in the back nodded grim approval of the officer's behavior, their smirks betraying ugly satisfaction. But then Ruby Jefferson's voice cut through again. You all should be ashamed. This is the same way they treated us in 55. Morrison smirked, calling back without hesitation. 55 was different. We knew how to handle troublemakers back then. His words hung like smoke, an open confession of history repeated, of racism passed down like inheritance. Then a new voice rose, deep and commanding. Officers, what seems to be the problem here? Reverend Marcus King had arrived, alerted by frantic phone calls from his congregation. At 58, he carried the cadence of both pulpit and protest. His presence shifted the energy immediately. No problem. Preacher, Whitmore said with mock politeness. Just handling some police business. This doesn't look like police business, Reverend King replied, pulling out his phone to record. This looks like harassment. The Channel 8 camera swung into position. The reporter's voice cut through, live on air. We're here at Montgomery Police Headquarters, where what appears to be a confrontation between officers and an unidentified black woman in uniform is unfolding. Victoria felt the moment cresting. The danger was at its peak. Every second added weight to the evidence. Every second also brought her closer to violence. Then Whitmore reached into his pocket, pulled out a cheap gas station knife. Well, looky here, he said, holding it up. Found this right where she was standing. That's a weapon, boys. It was so blatant it was insulting. Everyone saw it come from his pocket. Victoria hadn't moved an inch. That's evidence tampering, Victoria announced, loud enough for every microphone and phone. You just planted that knife. She's getting agitated, Walsh called out, raising his voice. Better call for backup. And as if on cue, more sirens screamed closer. Red and blue lights painted the courthouse walls. The standoff had escalated to the point of no return. The parking lot swells were flashing blue and red as more units flood in. Sirens died down, replaced by the crackle of radios and heavy boots hitting the softening asphalt. Each new arrival isn't here to investigate, but to reinforce the lie. Another badge, another body ready to swear under oath to something they know isn't true. The Alabama sun presses down like judgment itself, turning the air thick and unbearable. The old Confederate monument looms taller, casting its shadow across the scene like a reminder of battles never truly finished. Victoria stands still, calculating. She can end this circus with a single sentence, by revealing who she is. But doing so would short-circuit the exposure she's worked for. Every camera pointed at her as proof. Every shaky live stream an archive of systemic rut. She remembers Rosa Parks, who made her stand with nothing but courage. She remembers her grandfather, who carried dignity through decades of silence. She remembers the countless black officers who never had the chance to fight back. Last chance, Whitmore declares, snapping open his cuffs with theatrical precision. You can cooperate, or we can do this the hard way. The crowd holds still. No one breathes. Phones tighten their focus. Reporters shuffle for better angles. This is it, the climax. Whitmore's hand closes around her wrist, already savoring the arrest. You're under arrest for impersonating a police officer, he bellows, proud of his own voice. And then, Victoria's tone shifts. Calm no longer, but sharp, commanding, undeniable. Officer Whitmore, release my arm. Immediately. The words slice the humid air. Every cop in earshot recognizes it. That tone, The voice of command, not request. I am Chief Victoria Washington, Montgomery Police Department. Sworn in under federal order yesterday evening. Silence. Pure, frozen silence. Radios hum. Traffic murmurs in the distance, but the circle of officers stand paralyzed. Whitmore's grip slackens as his face drains pale. That's impossible, he stammers. Morrison's our chief. Victoria pulls out the official documents, the ones Morrison laughed at only minutes before. She raises them high. Captain Morrison was relieved of duty at midnight. I assume command effective immediately. The words land like hammer strikes. Morrison's coffee cup slips from his hand, shattering on the asphalt. Brown liquid spreads like a bloodstain under the Alabama sun. He stays, mouth opening and closing like a fish pulled from water. Her radio crackles to life. She keys it smoothly. Dispatch, this is Chief Washington. Badge 001. Confirm my authority. The reply is immediate, cold, official. Confirmed. Chief Washington, you are recognized as commanding officer effective 0001 hours. The circle of officers recoils. A collective shuffle backward. Curses hiss under their breath. Belts rattle as nervous hands shake. Whitmore tries to fight it. This has to be a setup, some federal conspiracy. But the mayor's black sedan pulls up at that exact moment, lights flashing. Mayor Patricia Webb steps out, sharp suit immaculate, her expression equal parts fury and relief. Officers, allow me to introduce your new chief, Victoria Washington, appointed under federal consent decree to reform this department. The civilians erupt. Applause, cheers, tears. Mrs. Ruby Jefferson throws her hands to the sky. Lord have mercy, I live to see this day. Reverend King starts a slow clap that rolls through the crowd. Social media blows up in real time. Hashtags flip from #police brutality to #justice served in seconds. Victoria raises her voice, calm and steady. Gentlemen, you have just given me the clearest demonstration of this department's failures I could have asked for. Whitmore stammers, desperate. Chief, I was just doing my job. Protecting the department from what? Officer Whitmore. She cuts in, surgical in her precision. From accountability, from anyone who doesn't match your narrow expectation of authority. The knife he planted lies in plain view on the asphalt. She gestures to it. That knife will be submitted with the recordings of every illegal search, every threat, every violation. Nothing disappears. Morrison tries to salvage himself. Chief Washington, surely this is a misunderstanding. The only misunderstanding, Captain, is that you thought federal oversight was optional. Badge and weapon. Now. His hands tremble as he unclips the badge he's carried for 30 years. His reputation, his pension, his pride, melting in the Alabama sun. Around him, officers can't move. Some look sick, some look broken. No one dares speak. Victoria keys her MIC again. Dispatch, Internal Affairs, and Federal Liaison to Headquarters. Priority 1. The Channel 8 reporter edges forward. Chief Washington, what do you say to what just happened? Victoria turns toward the cameras. Behind her, the Confederate monument seems smaller, shrunken in the face of real authority. This is why federal intervention became necessary. This department will be rebuilt. Every officer retrained, every policy reviewed, every act measured by the Constitution. She faces Whitmore once more. His hands tremble as he fumbles with his belt. The Confederate flag pin on his collar falls, landing in the spilled coffee at his feet. History pivots right there, in that Montgomery parking lot. Whitmore's voice breaks. Chief Washington, please. I didn't know. I thought I was protecting the department. She accepts his badge without flinching, fingers never touching his. Protecting it from what, Officer Whitmore? From justice? From change? From the people you swore to serve? His voice drops, a whisper he can't stop. From outsiders. Phones capture the word. Reporters catch a confession. The lie is gone. The truth is recorded. Victoria steps closer. Her eyes burn steady. Outsiders? I was born 30 miles from here. My family has lived in Alabama 6 generations. The only outsider is the mindset you cling to. The crowd cheers louder. History, right there, rewrites itself in the sweltering Montgomery heat.